Let's have a quick look at some new HTML5 input elements which might be useful for your first assignment. So that's our focus. The elements we're going to look at are these, and it's pretty obvious what they're for. Basically, we've got an input element for handling numbers, one for handling dates, one for time, one for colors, and one for selecting from a range. So I've put all those in this particular example. So let's run this example. So the first one is number. So it's not too surprising. You can type in a number, whatever you want, and then you have a nice increase and a decrease. Now what happens if you try and type in some letters? It gets rejected, which makes a lot of sense. Let's move on to the second type. This one is a date type. So you can enter some kind of date like 9th of December, whatever, 2018. Nice and simple. And if you try and type in some letters, then it gets rejected. Only digits are accepted, as you would expect. You also have a kind of up and down thing here for each column. So some basic input there of a date. There's also a nice calendar feature, although this depends on which browser you're using. So you can select, which month and which day and which year and that kind of thing, and it gets entered into the main display. Let's look at the time input. Well, nothing too surprising. Enter some time, 9:30. And if I press the A key, the A letter, it will show AM. If I press the P key, it will show PM. And if I try and enter some letters here or here, it gets rejected. That's nice, and we can do increase and decrease as you might expect. So the fourth one is color input. So let's choose a nice color. We could choose over here, or we could choose here. Let's choose yellow and do OK. And depending on the browser, it will show the color right there. So it's stored the color yellow, and that will be sent to the server later when I press submit. The last one is a slider. So it's a simple selection from a range. This particular example, I have a word over here and I have a word over here. So it looks like I'm selecting from a range, but that's not true. I'm actually selecting from a number range, nothing to do with the words, okay? So those are the 5 inputs. And as usual, if you press submit, all of that data is sent to the server, and then on the server side, you can extract the parameters and do things with that information. Let's have a look at the code for this example. Looks like this. So there's our input types: number, date, time, color, and then the final one was range. And as you might expect, you often have to add extra parameters in order to set things up properly. So for example, in this range example, I set up the minimum value, the maximum value, what the increase is as you drag the slider, and also what the starting value is. So you have to set up all of those kind of things. I've also set up labels for all of these input controls. As we know, we use for, and then that will set up a label for a particular item which has a particular ID. And the name is the key thing when the data is sent to the server. Okay, so that's the end of our introduction to 5 new HTML elements.